Hello everyone, my name is Taylor Chepren and I am a 4-year senior at Mercersburg. Tonight I will be presenting my fall Commarts Springboard presentation. So before we even came to school in the fall, Ms. Pixler shared with us that we should start brainstorming ideas for our project. At that time, I had absolutely zero idea as to which direction I should go. For the years prior to taking Commarts, I took many fine arts classes, mostly visual arts, as it is required to take at least 3 or 4 at the academy before you graduate. I completed my 4 classes my 9th and 10th grade year. I then went on to take the year-long advanced studio art class in 11th grade. So really, while I'm pretty artistic and creative, everything that I've ever done has been hands-on visual art. By the time we all got back to school, I realized how important it was for me to challenge myself for this project, focus on something I'd never really done before. So I decided to make photography my medium for the project. I knew this was definitely going to be a challenge, as the only camera I've ever really used is the one implanted in my phone. As we started having class in person, I began hearing all of my classmates' ideas, and that's when I wanted to focus on color, specifically in an exotic way. My main inspiration is someone named Alex Stampleski. I first discovered him on TikTok and then further branched out to other social media platforms. The photo in the bottom right corner is my first idea plan/layout, which was pretty crazy and had many different ideas on it. For the first project that my class did, we had the option to do a self-portrait or a logo design. I chose self-portrait because why not? I really liked the idea that I was going for, but I made the terrible mistake of making my medium watercolor. Back in my studio art class last year, we did a watercolor project. Keep in mind, that was my worst piece of artwork from the entire year. So remembering that, I really don't know what drew me to watercolor. Maybe because I like the idea of everything being the saturated blue color, as Mercersburg's colors are blue and white. While it was stressful, I kind of enjoyed it. It was a good thing to get my brain back into the swing of creativity after coming back to school. So since I had never used a camera before, I had to learn how to use full manual settings and manual focus. These photos were taken the first time I took the camera out on my own, so there wasn't any meaning behind these photos other than practicing and experimenting. This shoot was for the sole purpose of understanding how the settings worked. I was getting used to controlling the focus and lighting. All of my practice photos in this presentation are unedited, but also this is a good time to point out that not only was I learning how to use a camera, I was also learning how to operate Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. As part of my process, I was very lucky to have Lucy Bowman, a very talented and experienced photographer in my class, spend some time helping me and walking me through how the settings worked. She was also my test model that day. While most of the photos came out quite nice, there were some other photos that didn't have a specific focus point, that problem being the first of many errors to come. After seeing the seniors last year do this, our class wanted to do the same. It looked like so much fun watching the seniors spend all day having fun, having a good time creating their mural outside. What first messed up the experience for us was because of our schedule this year. We couldn't afford to just take a whole day off to have a good time and paint a giant mural. With our final projects in the works, rather than this being a mostly fun project, this became more of a job that we had to finish. It became something that at the end we just wanted to get out of the way rather than care about how it actually came out. My group, Bryce Mitchell, Caroline Dillard, and Max McCullough, had a really good idea, but our medium wasn't the best idea. Spray paint, while it was really fun to use, and for most of us it was our first time, it wasn't the most ideal form we could have used to paint such intricate shapes as the ones in our mural. After the mural was out of the way, I was able to focus more on my project. In the fall, I played field hockey, and on one of the weekends, my team and I went out and watched the girls' soccer game. So that day, I brought my camera to the game to get some practice in on my own. I took some shots of the girls while they were watching. The process of this project has been an ongoing trial and error. So while I adjusted the focusing issue from Lucy's photos, the downfall in these photos was that I had the ISO too high. I unfortunately didn't even realize it until after. The ISO is supposed to be higher when the surroundings are darker. In this case, I'm outside in the sun, so the high ISO is not ideal. The photos became awkwardly dark and grainy because of this. About a week later, I took my roommate outside to do more testing photos to fix my ISO mistake. While these photos came out much better, there was yet another downfall. The white balance setting was messed up, on a different setting than it was fit for the surroundings and lighting. Therefore, it created a blue tint on the photos. This was super frustrating because I just wanted to get to my final shoot. I just didn't want to keep messing up the settings and continually having to test. Finally getting to this point was a huge triumph for me. One weekend, I took a bunch of girls who lived on my floor out to the Sycamore Lane to do my final shoot. It was a beautiful day and in a beautiful location on campus. I'd say we were out there for almost 2 hours, and we definitely got a lot of stares from students outside that Saturday, but I definitely say that everyone out there had so much fun. I think a big component of what made this shoot work well was that all of us were pretty close, so nothing was weird or awkward for anyone, and they all seemed and looked very comfortable modeling. You may notice that the subject for these past slides have been Final Shoot Round 1. That is because you will later see I did a second final shoot. While these photos were so awesome and so stunning, there were yet more downfalls and the details that I missed. For one, everyone else in the shoot was wearing a black top, but here, unfortunately, Harriet was not. While Sycamore was a beautiful place to have as a background, it happened to be too much. The details of the trees taking away from the center of the photo, the model. The others were lighting and shadow points, too much light in places or strange shapes of the shadow that wouldn't complement the face that well. Mrs. Pixler said that I should do another shoot with less busy backgrounds. While I was totally up for it, by the time I needed to get the photos taken, our campus went back into phase 3 and everyone went home early for break. Therefore, I wasn't able to use the same models on campus. Thankfully, I had leftover powder, and Miss Pixler allowed me to bring the camera home with me to do my second shoot. I honestly didn't think much of my project after I got home, between being with my family and focusing on our intensive that we had. Then, about mid-December, we had a snowstorm, and I couldn't have thought of a better non-busy background to have. My models were my sister Haley on the left and my neighbor Alexis on the right. The shoot was much quicker time-wise as there was snow on the ground, so it was pretty cold out. But nonetheless, the photos came out exactly as I wanted. One thing that I think I should mention is how many photos I took that came out looking like this. While these ones actually didn't look too bad, if you think about it, you have chalk dust flying at your face, so your first instinct is to close your eyes. The whiteness of the background and the darkness of the clothes truly allowed the colors to pop even before I edited them. In these next 2 slides, you will see an unedited photo on the left and an edited photo on the right. While the white balance wasn't off on the camera, the snow and sky had a bit of blue tint to them, which required me to warm the photo a bit. Overall, I'm really proud of my process, and having the ability to learn and create a year-long process in a third of the time, I'm happy that I chose photography, because while I won't be a professional in the future, I learned the skills to take photos with a real camera, and I look forward to being able to use those skills in the future. I will have my photos in this presentation linked in the chat in our Q&A session. But thank you to those who attended my spring talk, and have a great evening.